Welcome, everybody. I'm Rick DiClemente to Astrology Unplugged. Nice to have you with us tonight. You will notice that last week, well, maybe you won't notice, last week there was not a recording because we had technical difficulties between here in Australia and the wonderful Ksenia Moore. Just couldn't link up with us, and she will be postponed till next week. So she will be the guest 1 week from tonight, the astrologer, Ksenia Moore from Australia. Tonight's wonderful guest, a good friend of mine. I'm very glad to welcome her, our local shaman from the Greensburg area, Christine Sumner. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for having me this evening.
Well, you're certainly welcome. I go way back with her, about 15, 16 years we met. And in between that time, she raised a bunch of kids and she did a lot of yoga teaching. And we stayed in touch here and there. She is a Pisces. She's got a very powerful Pisces chart, which is under a lot of Neptune pressure now. So I had a little reading with her, whatever session you might call that, yesterday. And it was very intriguing. And if you're not used to shamans, it's not an easy thing to explain to people. So how did you get started into your fields?
I would say probably as a wounded healer, which most shaman get started. I went through a period of illness. And if you're talking about how I got started in all the fields, yoga started with a period of illness where I just wasn't able to find a remedy with conventional medicine. So I turned to yoga and had an interest in yoga therapy and was able to eventually work with people in reversing heart disease with yoga. So I think my path and even into shamanism came from a chronic heart
condition. Oh, what's his name?
You mean Dr. Oz?
No.
Ornish. Okay, sorry. I thought
Dr. Ornish, yes.
Yes.
Who wrote books about reversing heart disease through diet.
Yes. And yoga that we called stress management was integral. Like 1 hour a day, it was just as important as exercise, or no, just as important as diet and more important than exercise. Because a lot of people will say, oh, I exercise. I get my stress management completely different. We need that time to be.
Well, I think you're exactly right on track. And you can see through the years that everything is gently turning that way. It's just incredible to see. And it's about time. It's a wonderful thing to see. What turned your ears towards shamanism?
Again, it had to be my body, something that I experienced, a heart condition that kept coming back. And one day I was watching Gaia, and Dr. Vialdo had a documentary about the shamanism, and there was a picture of the luminous energy field. So sort of like a blueprint around the body. And there were all these little darts in the in the luminous energy field. And I thought, oh, that I wonder if this is what could be going on. Because I'd gone through a stressful experience where I had to let go of something that I loved. And I reached out to a shaman. She came to my home, Jacqueline Spearneck. She is in the Pittsburgh area, wonderful, wonderful light and woman. And she got me started. And it was always my dream to go to the Four Winds training. I had tried a few times at Omega Institute and it was always closed. It was always full. And it just so happened with the pandemic, when I lost my job at the cancer center, that I had an opening. I was able to.
Oh, is that recent?
That is recent. I started training. I did a class called Healing the Dark Side last April. And it was sort of interesting. All these people came to me who were experiencing sort of psychic attacks. We work with people who are experiencing psychic attack. It's a very real thing.
From another person?
From another person, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced it. That's no fun.
No.
I have a great appreciation for it. And when I talk, there are two kinds of Pisces. There's one kind of Pisces that, if in my experience, one kind of Pisces is just not making much sense because it's just too rarefied to discuss. And then there's another type like you and some of our other friends who will blow your mind because they'll say things that are so rarefied and so off the earth. And I've learned to sit down and kneel in their direction and listen and show respect. I want to know with you, I showed you how in your chart, your sun and moon are sitting at the bottom of the chart, and Neptune is going over both of them right now. And that'll happen again in the 164 years.
Okay.
So the fact that that's happening is a phenomenal symbol of you. I always use it, the example of your culvert, your connection to God, your culvert widening and strengthening. And it's very normal for the client who's going through such a thing to feel very confused because it doesn't support the worldly type of thinking. It doesn't support analytical type thinking. But how are you feeling now that you're in the middle of this? Can you feel what's going on?
I can feel what's going on. I feel like I've made it over, maybe like where I'm riding the wave. There are times that have been very difficult, but I've been almost like I'm surrounded by angels. I've just had
That's exactly
people in
right.
my IU who've been through this experience. I don't know where if it's always Neptune in the chart, but
Well, no, this is very, very rare and
Okay.
very timely. And I wanted to just let people know, since I wrote it on Facebook recently, today, Pluto and Mars are exactly at a right angle. Today, Pluto and Mars are at a right angle. And that's very stressful. And that is what brought us the trouble with the abortion bill, etc., and the trials going on in the Capitol and all. Anyhow, Christine, maybe you could explain how you do it, but she started me off, and she's going to do it tonight on camera with what she calls the plant oracle.
Yes, the plant oracle is something I actually learned in my shamanic training. It's actually a very ancient oracle. Really, the first plant oracle was the I Ching. They would throw yarrow sticks.
Right.
But in Peru, if you go to Cusco, you can actually get a coca leaf reading. It's ceremonial. There's coca leaves are very they're considered very magical, have a lot of wisdom, and a lot of peace. And when you have a reading, sometimes people will come looking for, well, what direction am I going to go into? What direction for my family? Beyond that, what direction for my community, and even direction for the world. So it's, I don't have coca leaves. So I actually just went around my home and where I've traveled different places, and the plants to sort of speak to me. And I just collected my own plants, and I throw them before my energy medicine sessions just to get a greater insight into what could possibly be going on in someone at different levels, whether it's physical, mental, soul level, energetic level. And I also do on Instagram, I do new moon and full moon, just fun energetic relationship readings. What does my heart need to know now? So I do that as well, which is a lot of fun.
That's really good stuff. And I got taken in a while ago by getting drawn to tarot, and I got tired of hearing my mind say tarot can't work. I just don't want to hear it anymore, and I wanted to just throw it and start to see. And I learned very quickly that it is as accurate as you are, and it's all coming from you, and it became solid proof to me. So anyhow, tonight, let's see if we can get your camera in the area that you want to put it.
Okay.
I've got it so that you can share your screen, and you're going to do a plant oracle for us or the moment or however you see it.
Okay. I think I'll just do a relationship reading, like since we're still, you can tell me if I'm correct here, or we're still in the new moon energy. So
Yes, we are.
well, we'll just say, what does my heart need to know now? I'm going to plug my camera in here. What does my heart need to know now for this moon energy? Okay. Can you see that?
That's her little backdrop cloth.
Yes. Okay. And I made my own set of runes. So I throw my runes in there as well. But I actually already opened sacred space. I called in all the energies of the board is divided into serpent, which is a material, physical body. I could go deeper. I'm just going to give you the basics. Jaguar, mental, emotional, beyond fear, beyond death. Hummingbird, sweetness, going for the sweetness in life. And this is soul level. This is eagle, energetic. Beyond time, our destiny, seeing, like flying to the sun and like flying wing to wing with spirit. So I have plants. I'm just going to.
So these are things that you've gathered in your yard and your travels.
Yes, they are things that just spoke to me. So I'll pull them out and then I'll collect them. I collected one today, and I almost, like, my friend who is really good at tarot always told me that, you develop a vocabulary. And when shaman or people in Peru throw coca leaves, I don't know if they necessarily, if they read the energy. I've never had one personally, so I can't tell you. But they read the energy of the reading, and they, again, intuitively, things just come through. And also Andean spirits, the lineage. I have developed a vocabulary for each of my plants because it just helps me. That's where I am now. But I also, there is also an energy to the reading. So I'm just going to put them in my hands. And again, thanking Pachamama, Mother Earth, for these beautiful plants and for this beautiful day and for bringing us together so that we can learn from Rick and learn from one another. This, I thought, reminded me of the sun, so I grabbed that today. And the energies I'm going to talk about, divine masculine, divine feminine, they don't have to be he. It could be he, she, they, them. And it could just be energies. It doesn't necessarily have to be, the man and the woman. So just know that it could be energies within yourself, or because we all have masculine and feminine energies within. Okay, so I'm just going to throw this. What does my heart need to know now for the querent out there, in all time and space? Okay, so I'm hoping you can see. If you need a little bit of a closer view, right now there's
And you're on your computer in the top right where it says view, you can click on view and change it from gallery to speaker, and that'll give you a close-up.
Okay.
So click on speaker if you want everybody, and that'll zoom you in close on her screen.
Okay, you're asking everybody else to do that. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Okay, so I have a lot of activity here as I look in south. This is south wind. South is all about shedding our skin, just like a snake. We're not shedding one scale at a time and like taking a scale off and looking at it and then investigating it. It's just like a snake, like not gripping onto the skin, but just releasing. So I know that there's a lot of work here to do at the serpent level. And serpent also, if you think of a snake, keeps its belly close to the earth, right? And if we think back in time of Adam and Eve, serpent also brings us back to our innocence, to our that childlike wonder within us. And it also represents the physical. In shamanism, when I see a lot in the South, I'm thinking that illumination would be helpful for this person right off the bat when there's a lot of energy concentrated here. And that's basically, we usually work on one chakra at a time, backwash it, clear it, and then provide light from the eighth chakra, from the above, and to clear any imprints. So we want to clear imprints out of the physical body. Well, really, if you want to clear them energetically first. They don't even become into the physical body, because we're luminous beings. We're energetic beings. Okay, so I'm going to start to deconstruct this a little bit. Right here, I have a feminine heart in a yin position, sitting upon an arrow pointing to the sun. So there's something they're bringing light to. There's actually a transformation that can be occurring. So this is the very top of the reading. So I have a feminine heart. The arrow is pointing to me that they're on the cusp. So this could be, again, doesn't have to be a female, just could be the energy. This person is on the cusp of a transformation, bringing light to something. I'm going to start pulling this apart because that's the only way I can deconstruct this. Okay. So I pull off here underneath. I see, let's see. I see crossing this person. There's some type of energetic cord leading to the meat of the issue. I'm going to pull off. This is like just like a little sword. And I already talked about transformation. This is pointing to transformation. Yeah, there's almost like little cords here. So if I pull off the sun, so needing to bring light to, there's a meat of the issue related to home. And if I go back to, I look at the heart here of the cardinal, because this is the now and the reading. So all of this is almost like the unconscious. John, you're talking about Jung. So in this map here, this is all where all the shadow, all the fruits, all the beauty, okay? And then it rises. This is the past. This is the future, destiny. This is right now. So I see all this sort of rising related to home. There is a masculine heart here, whether this is a male or just the masculine influence, important right now, that's there. So this is sort of rising. But underneath, so I'm going to move this home. So there's a little bit home. This is sort of like the issue. There's been a challenge. So there's an issue. There's a challenge here. Could be even a challenger. Sometimes, you know, in life we have, could be whether they're soulmates. And I don't have my soulmate or twin flame indicators they're not in this place. This isn't necessarily a twin flame or soulmate relationship if we're doing a relationship reading, but there's a challenge here related to a cord, and this cord has to do, it's going to bring us back to spirit. Great Spirit is showing that there's some work that needs to be done here. And I'm just going to totally pull these so I don't get mixed up. Related to the feminine, so whether it's in Jaguar, so related, there's some, whether it's patterns, emotions, and even the masculine heart is sitting here a little bit. There's still even a little bit of a trace of a cord. So this cord is related, it's almost circling. If we started with that reading, it's circling back to this masculine. So maybe this cord related to the masculine. So almost sitting on the back, preventing, I don't know if it's preventing flight or what this is, but this masculine heart is sitting there. And this points me to different types of, in Jaguars where we do extractions and different type of energetic work here. And we prepare people to sort of make the heroes, the Shiro hero's journey, cross the rainbow bridge, beyond death, beyond fear, beyond anything that holds you back, all those stories you had from your family, your ancestors. Oh, my dad had heart disease. I'm going to have heart disease. We want to just, as a shaman, we want to remove all those imprints and help you embrace a new story. So I'm going to remove this. This shows me there's maybe cord cutting would be helpful. You know, and if I have it in the plant oracle, always it's going to be there, but it might mean something different. There's something really beautiful, special to this person that's being covered up. That is being covered up once this cord is something they favor, and there is a clear need for pruning, and it's almost like there's something needs to be cut away or removed because there's this new beginning, and it can be like a very special relationship. So a very special relationship that was just sort of covered up, and it was almost buried underneath, you know, all of these cords and the adversary, things that we couldn't quite see. And even underneath this, like angel tears underneath. And this is related also. I have a leaf meaning an old home. So this is related to home. So I don't know if this could be in the past, some of these imprints that might need to be cleared. As I see it, it was on a new beginning. So this was right here, something related to the home, healing balm. So it could be childhood home. And there's even just almost a little shard left from a challenger here. So that makes me think there was something, and Blue Jay always means truth to me. So a healing balm of truth related to home to be able to start a new beginning, because there's a beautiful fruit here that's ready to rise up into the now, but it's like an illumination
can just sort of clear some of these imprints, because Great Spirit's pointing toward that, as well as some work in Jaguar, because up here in the hummingbird in the north, hummingbird Siwa Kente, this is where the hummingbird goes, every year. It's not made for flight, but it will take, as tiny as it will take this great big flight all the way to from North America to Central and South America. It doesn't question, should I go? It just goes. And at this soul level, this person that was sort of bogged down, something related to home, this healing balm related to a truth, there's this beautiful dream here at the soul level that is just, it's there. It's really beautiful for this person. And then moving on to eagle, there's just a little energetic scar here. Something that, whether it can be removed in the energetics, because they're almost like nesting dolls, like Russian nesting dolls. One level of perception informs the other. So it just sort of wraps around. Eagle wraps around, eagle energy wraps around the soul level wraps around the mental level wraps around the physical level. And we'd rather, let's say we're trying to get to heart disease, Dr. Viodo says, you'd rather, instead of meeting heart disease at the ER, why not meet it at the thought level in Jaguar, or in the energetic level by, whatever work needs to be done destiny wise, like whether there's some cord cutting. If there was a cord up here, I'd think, oh, energetic work or soul retrieval here. But we try to get it before it manifests in the physical level, if at all possible. Oh golly, and then I got to throw some runes on here too. Give me 1 second. Sometimes I do that. I get really excited. I start the reading and I forget to place the runes, but I'm giving you a basic idea. This is south. So that was where I feel south. Okay, yeah, unions. This is about union, yoking. Even practice of yoga. This person could benefit from the practice of yoga, uniting masculine and feminine energies within. But I still go back to home, the beginning. There's a healing balm needed there. The shard from the past. West. Okay, abundance. There's a beauty here. There's a lot of abundance in this realm. You're shining a light. So that's like a full moon. So shining light, illuminating what might be in the thoughts patterns related to the circle with a masculine and home. I don't know, because in the reading, the feminine heart was here and the masculine heart was here. They're not quite together apart. Each of them has work to do. So, the masculine, I would say, is just ready to do some work here. The masculine, whether it's energy or masculine himself, needs work in the energetics and Jaguar. Great Spirit's asking for that. Related to feminine, maybe connecting to the feminine. So illuminating that. North, related with a dream. Oh, rebirth. So there's a rebirth coming. So there was like, if we travel around the wheel, and this is the medicine wheel, shamans, this is a representation of the medicine wheel, which is in many cultures. As shamans, we heal ourselves through the medicine wheel, through each of these archetypes. They're like seeds and gifts that we develop along the way. I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. But we're just traveling around the wheel many times in our lifetimes, the shaman, and just to help, because we heal ourselves to help heal others. Full room for eagle. All right, next, waning. I have to look this one up. I get my moons mixed up all the time. It's waning gibbous. Right, gibbous, yes. Yeah, and that's just gratitude and action. And sometimes in teaching, and it could be whether the querent is about teaching, but sometimes it's just spirit, like great spirit teaching us. It sometimes can be death, can be the great teacher as well. When I get this rune, just really paying attention to spirit and the signs that are sent, and that gratitude for living, and for being able to wake up and place your feet on the earth out of your bed every morning, just being grateful, having that gratitude and remembering that, we're here now for a finite amount of time and can't really predict that. Okay, this is what I have right now. And I already deconstructed it a little bit, but let me throw some things back on. Well, I'm not going to do that. But one of the great things, this is the first throw in a plant oracle. When you have a plant oracle reading, you experience 2 more throws. So you can sort of ask a question, throw again, and then we throw again, and you have the ability to move something. So it's actually changing your destiny. And anytime you consult an oracle, the future, the past, everything is sort of fluid, the shamanic time, there's not linear time. You have the ability to change your destiny. So it's an active oracle. So there may have been something that the person that came for the reading wanted to move or felt like energetically they didn't like the way things were. We caution people because it can really shake things up. But it might just be moving something closer together. This is, in the upper world, there's this beautiful dream here is just sort of waiting. So it depends on the person. Sometimes you can change the oracle. Sometimes people just want to leave it just as it is. But that's one of my favorite things about the oracle is that it's a living oracle, and you can, if you don't like what you get the first time, you keep throwing. You just keep throwing to get a preferred destiny, because as shaman, if there was a momentum tunnel of possibilities for your life, like I talked about earlier, my dad had heart disease, so I'm going to get heart disease, or my mom had, everyone in my family had cancer, I'm going to get cancer. We have all these probabilities for our life, almost in a momentum tunnel, if you think like physics. As shaman, we try to veer off. We go for that 3% radical healing for people. We try to get them outside the momentum tunnel for a destiny, because we all have fate, but it's how we react to our fate, our decisions, as to whether we're going to move into destiny. And as shaman, we try to get people on that track to a destiny, as compared to, maybe what's happened generationally to every woman in the family, every man in the family. We want to track for the highest possible destiny outside the momentum tunnel. So that gives you a little idea. That was a lot of information. Do you have questions while I?
Yeah, I will get into some here. You can put the camera on yourself now. If you
Okay.
like.
Okay.
Now, you ran into all this because of necessity, because you were sick and you started down the yoga path, which makes total sense.
Yes.
And then towards the shaman path.
Yes.
Stupid question. Did you feel like you were being led to these paths?
I do believe. I feel like everything I've ever has been presented to myself, or even my children, because my children have had unusual things in their illnesses and things happen. I've always tried to transform it into some type of meaning, like to create something out of it. I guess I've always had that calling that I had to transform it somehow. And I guess I always would hear something would tell me what to do, and I would just do it. And now I've hit the point where I just trust what to do. Not that I don't
You have a lot of Pisces in you and a lot of Aquarius. So that's proof to an astrologer that those channels are open. Do you feel that you were a healer in past lives?
I feel like there's certain things I've known and I don't know why. I imagine I don't know how I've known certain things, or is it like, universal consciousness? Like where does it come from? I'm not sure.
Okay, and the reading you just threw, did you get a sense it was for one of us? Did you get a sense it was for the whole group? Was it for the world? What did you sense from that reading?
Well, because I started just at an individual level, because then sometimes you can go individual, community, and world, with the 3 throws. I sensed first individual, but I also, there was no timeline to it. It could be someone watching 8 years from now as well. but I feel like there could be home, there could be it could have landed home in someone's heart here. There could be aspects of it that maybe were helpful. But now I know exactly who. I don't have that type of clarity, but I feel like, those, just the representation, I don't know if everybody can fit into them. I'm trying to say. If that answers a question, I don't know specifically for who that was for. I just sensed the energy, and my intention was for whatever time, now, future, who knows, even past.
How often have you been seeing? You told me yesterday after my reading that you saw spirits next to me. How often has that been true?
It's more and more. I had a new, it seems like not every time, but whether my teacher appeared a while back, which was very important moment, that he's never come during one of my journeys. And then Mother Mary started coming. This week, Mother Teresa came. That's the first time ever. So I
took a lot of training in this type of field myself. I'm not very good at it, but I respect it. When you say you see these things, what do you see? Do you see a vague image, a crystal clear image? What?
Sometimes I see faces very clearly. If I'm clearing something, sometimes a face comes so clearly I have to clear it out of the field. I have to clear it out of the field. And then kneeling, I'll see them kneeling. I'll see, yeah, it's just like a video. It's like a video in my mind. Like I see, and I can even see with my eyes open. I can see, that's how I started when I was counseling. I started seeing like sparks of light by people's head. That's how I started becoming more, this is before yoga therapy? It was. I started seeing like sparks of light, and it started at my aunt's funeral. Someone said, I think we're going to be okay now. And then it was like a brilliant, like a star burst.
If you got Pisces people around you telling you stories like this, listen. Put your judgment to the side and listen. Okay? Just listen. Now, she and I both know a famous healer. I'm not going to say her name. And yesterday, the word kept coming up to her, Inquisition.
Yeah.
She even wondered whether I was drawn and quartered in one of my past lives, which was interesting, scary, all that at the same time. But at the same time, she felt that this healer had a partner that we didn't care for. I didn't care for him. She didn't care for him. All of a sudden, she realized, she saw his face and she removed him from the equation. And she felt that he was the inquisitor. So it's really fluid how this whole thing works. Can you explain how that happened?
Well, fluid is the right word, because as it came like a wave. I felt like I had to wash it with a wave. It came like I had to push this energetic that was over you. I had to push it out like a wave. And I used the force of water, like and blew it away. And I can't say I've ever done that before either. I just do what spirit tells me to do. That's what appeared, very strong facial feature, and then just kept until I felt it was clear. Because we clear, whether it's an imprint, energy, again, nothing's necessarily good or bad. Sometimes, like I describe even my first illumination, I come from a lineage, yogic tradition, very strong, patriarchal. And it's like
what kind of tradition?
Yogic tradition. So
yoga, yeah.
And very strong in my field as someone was working on me. And all of a sudden, my mentor, who is a federal law judge, retired, she took over, and never again did I have that. It was like an imprint, like a samskara, we would say, a samskara, like an imprint in my energetic field for that tradition. Not that I still practice yoga. I did this afternoon before I got on, but there was something there that, appeared as a face. I'm trying to describe it to you.
So may I, when you first got very sick in your heart, how were you guided towards specific types of yoga, and how did the yoga specifically help you heal?
That was more for more, I would say more reproductive issues. That's how that started. So I wanted to bring blood flow to the pelvic region. That's where that started. So, and I think a relationship that wasn't healthy, I just had stored a lot of energy there. And that's how that started. And then it was amazing how I got invited from my yoga teacher. My first yoga teacher, Rhonda Pegg, invited me to teach for the Dean Ornish program. And I never understood, when you're teaching tree pose, you place your arms over your head. I'm like, what? I couldn't understand why people with a heart condition, in my body, I couldn't understand. We always had to, teach here, and we had to be careful with what we did. And I didn't understand that until I got a heart condition. So I had fluid.
What does this mean?
It's exhausting when and I had to be, I literally had to be in bedridden to understand. I feel like I've gone through things that I understand.
Sounds to me like your energy was being sucked from somebody else.
You mean from when I got sick?
Yeah.
From the carb? Yeah, I think that was a spear to the heart.
Well, that's a really large, common
Yeah.
problem with Pisces too.
Yeah,
Because
that
they're
was
so sensitive, people like to steal their energy from them because they get so desperate.
I think it was heartbreak. It was something really sad that happened that day. And I think it broke my heart, and I just collapsed at the grocery store. It was something so simple and so like what would love do? It was exactly what love wouldn't do. It was just so.
How old were you?
That was 2009. So that was my first attack of pericarditis.
You don't have to.
Right now. Was I 30 something? Too long to struggle with.
You don't have to reveal your age. That's okay.
Yeah, too long to have that. And then
all right. Shelby, behave yourself. Shelby won't sit still.
Can I ask a stupid question?
If it's stupid, certainly.
Okay, it's a beginner's mind question. There's this I Ching, the idea of I Ching, the idea of synchronicity in astrology, sort of the idea that there's nothing that's random.
Right.
That there is always something that happens. It's because of some law we don't know, physical law, divine law, I don't know.
Yes.
But when you put those plants on that chart, you know that it's not random.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
But if someone doesn't know and understand what you're doing, they're going to think it's random. So what do you know that lets you aware that it's not random?
Okay, so I want to make sure I understand what you're saying, because in shamanism, synchronicity, that's shamanic time. And honestly, ever since I started this training, it's like every day is magical. Every day I have synchronicities, whether it's angel numbers, whether it's signs, whether I get on Instagram and something I'm thinking about appears, or a picture I took of Mother Mary, Mother Teresa appear on Instagram. And your question is one more time, how do I?
What do you know that I don't know that tells you that when you put the plants on that chart, this was not random?
How do you know it wasn't random?
I'm assuming it's not, because she was able to read into it lots of meaning.
The number one gift in the zodiac is two Pisces, and it's knowing, period. It's just, they just know what they know, and they don't know what they don't know, and they know it, and they don't even question it.
Then she doesn't need the plants.
And that is very true. And I don't need a vocabulary. You're very right. You're right. And what's the interesting thing, and I can tell you a little bit how my brain works. Like my dad worked for the NSA, and he was a coder. And I wish actually I don't wish, because this is perfect. I just see patterns everywhere. So for me, there's just a pattern. And if we're going to try to put it in the mind, okay, we're working at Jaguar level, put it mind, thought level, I see patterns. So the pattern ends up in this quadrant, and that this is what it means to me. Now, when the Kiro throw it, they're looking for energy. And I did talk to you a little bit about, there seemed to be a circular motion to this related to home, related to the masculine, the current, the old home, childhood home, and the masculine, where the masculine is home with the masculine, or getting close to home with the masculine. And that's the point that I'm at, but you're exactly right. Eventually, I mean, I have a friend reading tarot. She's like, I don't even need it. It's just to control the voices or what's coming in. Yeah, there's layers to it, but everything, I don't know, every day is magic for me now. That's all I can tell you. There's just magic everywhere if you look and you're open, and then the world isn't the same anymore. And I think Rick was sort of getting to that. Like, how are you doing? It's hard to describe that to people, you know, in today's terms, or just a layman. This is my world.
So what do you see? Silly question. One silly question after another. It's probably a good time to ask it. A lot of people are suffering. What do you think the main problem with people is?
Well, I mean, I'm hearing things like soul loss, trauma, or people are lost, right? I don't know whether it's trauma.
People are lost. Why are they lost?
Well, they've moved from the heart. We've moved from the heart. We don't, the intuitive heart. And that's where I listen to my heart now, because it just knows the way. I think when we don't listen to our hearts, and, you know, whether we're trying to please our family or someone else, or that's where we go off path, right? Or just spirit, or we don't listen in the connection to spirit. Like when you lose that, or maybe you're not being of service. I think that's a huge thing as well, but that's just the heart, right? And Rick, you say that home is a heart and spirit is.
Yeah, that's right. So when you started healing via yoga, how did that start at the heart and start to heal you? In 25 words or less.
Oh, golly, that's really hard, because it was pre my heart condition. I think it just prepared me. I feel like it healed that past, that maybe it was an imprint of a unhealthy relationship that I was carrying, maybe in my, let's say, sacral chakra. It gave me purpose and landed the importance of this therapy for me moving forward, because I have used it, whether it's been childbirth or when I couldn't breathe, just sitting. You know, you can't breathe when you have fluid around your heart.
Yeah, I was around you when your little boys were pretty little, and they really didn't want to hear much about your far out stuff. And how are things now that they're closer to 18?
One is starting. I think they're both one, I think, is in denial. I think they're both very intuitive. My eldest, I feel like he tolerates me. He'll listen, and he's interesting, but I still feel like they're waiting. I think something's coming that's just gonna, I hope it's so magical that they just can't, they can't even deny it anymore. I feel like it's coming. I do, but no, they're so logical. But my youngest is, I don't know. He's over it already, but it's just me. This is who I am. Can't go back now.
Well, we kind of like who you are.
Oh, golly. Thank you.
Erica has some questions for you.
15 and 17, soon to be 16 and 18. So 2 boys.
She's unmuting herself now.
They've taught me everything. I tell you, not everything, but
15 and 17.
Yeah, they've been through so many different struggles, and that's how I learned also.
Well, they must not have a lot of faith in Western medicine if you were able to heal them with a lot of non-Western medicine.
They
Lyme disease.
Yeah, we had flesh eating bacteria. I think my son, we were at my friend's house on one of those biomats, and after getting out of the hospital and it not working, and I made a balm, and he looked at me and he said, "Mom, thank you. Like, thank you so much for everything that you've done for me." Like, I think it hit home.
Okay, now when you told me that yesterday, now that's some weird stuff, that your son picks up flesh-eating bacteria from the ocean and a bruise or a cut. What does that mean metaphorically? The flesh-eating bacteria is symbolic to me. What came to eat his flesh? Something did.
Yeah, that's
It's
something.
not just some amoeba floating around the ocean.
I feel like that was a time where, well, I think all our lives sort of changed that day. Like if we talk about coming back from vacation, because um, they don't always listen. It's so hard to be me. They don't always listen to what you say. But Quinn thought that there's a worm, there's something eating my foot, and we had to make a decision at West Virginia to go to the children's or to go home. And I'm like, he's got to go. There's something terribly wrong. And of course, right when we got there, they're already giving it an ultrasound. They're worried it's bone infection. They see it growing up his leg. I don't. Our grandfather died. That was a huge death right before. Probably.
Astrologically, I see this consistently over and over and over and over. That these things are literal.
Yeah.
These things
Oh,
came
yeah.
from something literal. Of course, I don't pretend to be the healer that you are.
You are. You totally are.
Well, you are. I'm just an astro guy.
You're-
Anyhow,
Thank goodness.
Can I ask
Okay.
something?
yeah, go ahead, Claudia.
Being a Pisces, I'd find it hard to believe that you would not have an active dream life.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dreams and tell me about, not specifically your dreams, but how the more you trust in your knowingness, I feel like through your dreams you must
Yeah.
get
Yes.
feelings, information, visions, whatever it may be.
Yes. And I think what Rick was talking about earlier, where I say I'm riding the waves, I started having a voice wake me up in the middle of the night, telling me things. And when I don't want to, well, I'll just say the topic is cancer.
Uh-huh.
And then I started working with my friend who teaches lucid dreaming. And I just felt like it was coming back because COVID closed our satellite cancer center down here in Greensburg. It was a very important part of my life and an important part of my spirituality because thought I was going to be a medium, trained medium, but then a lot of people grieving those they've lost to cancer and people with cancer in general. It allowed me to start working on people energetically and helping people, before they pass.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting that call that it was time to, it's time to go back because it was sort of grieving. We had to close our center down. I worked online for a while, got them online, doing programming online, and then I lost my job. So I felt like I went through a period of grieving, which allowed me to start my shamanic training. But it came back and I was like, it was so intense. It just wouldn't let me go. It just kept waking me up in the middle of the night. And then I started working with lucid dreaming and pretty much you almost go to the edge of where I had to reach out to someone. I reached out to Rick. I reached out to someone else because I felt like I was losing my mind because things I was dreaming were happening. I would dream it and it would happen. And I'd say I've taken a break recently, but I can't tell you, not only friends having recurrences of cancer, clients, that is where I'm meant to work. And will I only work with people touched by cancer? No, but most definitely, I can't tell you. It's like once I just released the spirit and said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. It's like a floodgate open. I think I was in the one dream, I was trying to hold it back. Like, no.
Well, this should be a notification to all of you. When you notice a big shift in your energy field, what got into you, one thing you can do is call an astrologer. She called and Neptune was sitting on her sun and moon. Not opposite, not one of them, both was sitting on the sun and moon. And I was telling her, no, you're not crazy. You've got massive channels opening up and you'd be crazy. You would be almost dead if you didn't feel it.
Yeah.
So the fact that Neptune, I always feel, some people argue with me, I feel is very much the voice of the Holy Spirit. What do you feel it's saying to you now? Because it's It's God oriented. It wants you coming home. It wants you doing God's work. What do you feel it's saying to you?
It's saying to me to work with people, not only because I love this oracle, but I can still do that in my work, but helping people and families touched by cancer, children, adults.
So you have a particular affinity towards cancer issues.
I feel I'm being called
Mhm.
forward to do that, but also to work with children. I have children who are whether they're hospitalized. I'm writing a book right now. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I don't know. I have a lot of different areas, but I feel that very strongly just because of that voice, and then all friends, and then just clients that appeared. So something.
What
but I'm
do
open to all.
what do the hospitals think about you?
Well, I have friends in hospice that I worked with. We did yoga for the
Do
grieving.
they
part.
welcome you to come in and assist with hospice?
Well, since COVID, I did a program when it was the clubhouse. We did a yoga for the grieving heart. So people that lost loved ones to cancer, I developed a program and worked with them. I taught yoga and we did energy work. This was pre-shamanic days. So I love our local hospice workers, but I know they had to stop. I don't know where they are now. They couldn't have volunteers come in because of COVID. I don't know. I'm at that point where it's like, I feel like there's a momentum building. So that wave I was trying to hold back is like if that makes sense, Claudia, it's come in, I've accepted it. And I'll be like, oh, use me. Because as shamans, we want to be like a hollow bone. Like I always say, fill me, bend me, use me, mold me. Just blow through me as I just dissolve. Like, let me be, let your
Well-
love, light, healing. We become a hollow bone.
I understand. I'm anxious for people's questions because we try every week. We're in our 6th year now, and it's 75% astrology, and the other 25% is other subjects. And I try to bring different topics to the table so that people can question experts and can become aware of things that maybe they had hunches about. And we're finding that just everybody has these abilities. They've all got them. They have a bent towards this, or they have a bent towards that. They have a bent towards that. So it's wonderful to have you with us. I don't want to eat up the time. We're at 9 o'clock. We got another half an hour. I'd like for you to ask her questions that you think could help you. Take advantage of our expert this year. Just raise your hand. Don't be afeared. Come on, Susan. She doesn't have one. Well, I didn't think Erica would be too shy. Go ahead, Erica.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, Erica.
I know there was talk about psychic attack,
Mhm.
and I was wondering if you could talk about like strategies for what to do when you're under psychic attack.
Well, one of the basic things you can do, we open something known as our Viracocha, which is our 8th chakra above the crown, just bringing hands to heart center, inhaling the arms up, and, just spreading the fingertips. You can see my fingertips, and just bringing that light around you. And obviously, if you're working with somebody else, we always, I did this before I open around our group this evening as well. That's one thing you can do. But as shamans, we have been initiated with certain rites, and the bands of protection are something that will instill in someone to help them if they're in general affected by energies, whether they're an empath or they're actually under psychic attack. And there are different bands running from like the roots, a black band related to the earth, red, more in the mother of the waters. Then moving around the chest is a gold band. Over here, sort of silver type band, looks sort of bluish in the picture, but then just all clear around the third eye, the head area. That way, and then we teach people how to run the bands. so that, every day run your bands so you can sort of clear out, any energies that you've absorbed, because it could be people's thoughts. We know how powerful thoughts are. We really can't afford to have a negative thought. And whether it's jealousy, I mean, we're in these human bodies. Everyone has experienced, if you're honest, jealousy and all that shadow work that sort of John was talking about. When we can see everything, even the darkest of darkest, the darkest of evils, and see it within ourselves, it's like there is no power over us. But when you're out in the world, you pick up those energies. So that's one thing that bands of protection a shaman can instill that I think is very helpful. And then also just removing, there could be darts, and Dr. Vialdo's found that they're always primitive. You would think in our society, well, there would be, bullets or something. It's spears, it's, bows and arrows, it's darts. Wherever, and we often know whether to do those, whether we have an extraction stone, or we know whether in our mesa, what is picked, we'll often know whether an extraction needs done, or we're just told what needs
So
done.
as shamans, you help pull those darts out.
Exactly. So it's almost like psychic surgery, pull them out. And then sometimes we even travel, journey to the underworld, do an underworld extraction. If there's some type of energy, if I'm doing a soul retrieve one I can't see.
Oh God. Ksenia called me I've had so many titles through the years. Last week she called me an astrological surgeon. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I love it. See, you are a healer. You
There you
embrace
go.
that. Most
There,
definitely.
there you go. I'm going to own that one. John, go ahead. Yeah, you raise your hand.
Why don't you go with
Thank you,
Teresa?
Christine.
I had a question. So let Teresa go.
You and then Teresa both have your hands raised.
Okay, I'll ask my question. All right.
I'll switch your arm.
I'm relating a lot to what you're talking about, Teresa, or Christine rather. I had a mystical experience where I saw God, and that sounds crazy. So I've become a mystic, and the Holy Spirit speaks to me. I get ideas, and they're always spot on. But there's something about that. Most people have a role in life that society assigns to them. Okay. But what you have is something that the world didn't assign to you. It's coming from God. So I'm wondering, do you feel lonely?
Oh golly, I've talked with a friend about this so much, like loneliness versus solitude. I feel this path is there's times extreme loneliness, because you wonder, like, well, you have to find like-minded people, because who can understand you when you're seeing synchronicities every day, or like you were downloaded a book, or like what you're saying, I'm downloaded ideas. Not everyone in today's they don't get that. It can be very lonely. And I have found like the loneliness, I feel like it's almost like it's ripping my heart open. It must be preparing me that I can say to hold space. That was the idea that came through this week. Because it can be beautiful. You're walking on the beach alone, it can be beautiful, and you get a sign, right? And there's that solitude that feels so good. And then there's that solitude that is just like cutting. There's a beautiful, I wish I could remember the author, but she talked about how loneliness and solitude could be like a sharp rock, right? In your hand, cutting, bleeding, or it could be that soft, smooth rock in your hand that you love. You have that alone time. It's almost like greediness. I love this alone time. But it can be extremely lonely. I hope I answered your question, but yeah, I'm struggling with that. And I think I have friends as well that on this path.
John, what about the loneliness?
Well, okay, let me just say that, I feel that too, but I think it's partly because people will think you're crazy, and so you have to keep this to yourself. But you have a tremendous power, so you can't lose it. You can't lose this.
No.
Stay with it. Find your strength.
Yes.
You've got to find your strength, because you're
And the ones that think you're crazy are the ones that want your power.
that's right. You've got incredible power, and somehow you just have to go with it and believe in it.
Exactly.
Not be lonely. I don't know.
I think it's part of the path. And I think and this week I feel, because some days it's really lonely, but then other like I said, it's beautiful, but I think it's part to be able to do what you're called to do. And even you and I'm just out there now. It's like, what is it that Mad Hatter says? Oh, the best ones are crazy, right? And I do believe that. I did tell a child that this week because they didn't want to necessarily talk about something. I'm like, oh, it's okay. You know, you're not crazy.
Okay, I'll just make a comment. It reminds me of Jesus' agony in the garden.
Okay, Jesus, who in the garden?
Agony in the garden.
Okay, I don't.
Nobody understood him. A lot of people thought he was crazy. They wanted to kill him. And I don't know what he felt like. How would I know? But
Right.
it sort of reminds me of that.
Yeah, because you have empathy, you can feel compassion, what it feels like.
Do
I
you-
don't know.
Do you feel, Christine, like there's a major dawning coming to us now as a whole?
I think so, because I didn't really know much about ascension and I haven't read a whole lot about it, but something happened like that one night where I had that dream with the wave I was holding back. I think I did tell Rick this. I felt like I got a download and I never, I've had information, books, things downloaded to me, but I've never experienced what I've experienced in the last, since the beginning of the year. It's been very,
I'm telling you, and your chart has just started.
okay.
It's going to get heavy, and I'm here to help you any way I can.
Thank you.
Teresa, go ahead and unmute, and you are on with Christine.
Yeah. Hi, thanks for
Right.
what you're doing here today. And I really appreciate all the work that you do. So I had an experience too about 30 years ago where I was very peaceful for about 3 months. Things were happening in my life. And I guess maybe fear came back into it. But I'd like to get back there, or at least I'd like to know like where my path is. I've always been interested in healing. Okay, I've always been interested in healing. So how do you know? I mean, I'm just so confused about what to do or where I should go. I'm trying many different things in my life, Course in Miracles, and it's helpful. But I'd like to do more, if you know what I mean. And I just don't know like where, like what's coming.
Libras are not very decisive.
Okay. You're sort of waiting.
What do you hear, Christine?
Well, I right away here, destiny retrieval. So the plant oracle in shamanism is, part of our reading the signs of destiny, but we also do something known as a destiny retrieval, where I basically gaze in your eye and I pretty much track around the medicine wheel, and I see symbolically. I feel like it helps people. I've always been interested in helping people find their purpose. Even as a young child, I would sit on the monkey bars and be like, why do I have to go to school? Like, what's the meaning of life? But it's something as a small child, I remember, and always interested in the occult, all those time life books. Like it started so early for me. But that is something that it can be powerful, I think. But it's how you interpret it, though. I don't necessarily say this is your path. It comes symbolically.
What can we tell people as far as a contact? How can they contact you?
They can reach me at my website, heartcenteredhypnosis.com. I'm also
heartcenterhypnosis.com.
If you're
heartcenterhypnosis.com.
Yeah. And yes. And then I have an Instagram. I'm Fairy Tree Runes on Instagram. If you want a daily reading.
Fairy Tree. Gotta go slow when you announce this stuff. Fairy Tree Runes. Fairy Tree Runes on Instagram.
Yes.
Fairy True Runes.
Fairy Tree Runes. Yes.
And one thing I want to go ahead, dear.
Oh,
go ahead. I'm going to offer something.
Yeah.
Teresa, after you.
Okay. Yeah. I just redid the runes. I love the fairy realm as well. But that's where a lot of my healing has come from, honestly, the fairy realm, reconnecting with that realm.
Well, how can you argue with that? One thing I want to offer you, Teresa, is from my experience. Usually when I've found a client unable to find their path, that's what they call it. Usually there's a blockage in the way. And it's very much like what you talked about earlier with the Course in Miracles. which the essence of the course is as you remove your obstacles, the light comes rushing through. Well, what I've noticed without a doubt is the same thing. As you start, you know what your obstacles are, you know what your blockages are. You're intimate with yourself, you know what they are. Even as you start removing some of them, a little bit here and there, as you start removing them, your path will become known to you. Because your path is nothing more, in my opinion, but God shining a light for you. And it's hard to get that light when you got a big rock in the middle. So just start saying to yourself, what am I really getting by holding on to this big rock? What's it getting me? And for a long time, it got you a lot. That's where the dishonesty comes in. You have to admit that the rock got you a lot. It did a lot for you by blocking your way because it kept you without having to risk. As you start moving the rock, your direction will come clear. So that's my 2 cents.
And I can build upon
Thank
what
you.
you, oh, I'm sorry, Teresa, were you?
I was
did
just saying thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
when he's talking about blockages, I think of imprints. So the first thing we always start when someone works with us and is an illumination. So we want to clear the luminous energy field of any imprints. So a blockage could just be something there so that you can embrace. You say, I know I'm a healer, but I don't know what the blockage is. And you may not know. It could be generational. It could be something someone said to you. Who knows, whether this life, another life, it could just be in your energetic field. So we want all that beauty and that, and want so you can embrace like you being the author of your story and not, there's sort of a narrative. So if that's how if you relate to that, there's a blockage. I can't find my
She
purpose.
found an inquisitor yesterday who had drawn and quartered me, and she threw him out. So that just shows you how good she is. I said, what did you do with him? She said, I threw him out. I said, thanks.
Oh,
I couldn't believe it. She said he was the inquisitor. She kept saying inquisitor.
that's like appearing.
I kept saying, oh my God, this is kind of scary.
Yeah,
I don't feel drawn and quartered anywhere. Thank goodness.
Thank you.
Other questions? Come on, Susan. You're sitting idly in your mobile home in Ohio.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of questions, to be honest. This is next door to what I do. So I get it.
As a medium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So you're trained as a medium.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I trained, but then it's like God said, no, you're going to work with people living with cancer. But they all came in sort of like what Rick was saying. People have questions. They all came in talking about the mirror fell off the wall. Was that my loved one talking to me? I can't tell you how many experiences, how spirit used me and those gifts in another way. And even now, like when I journey down for soul retrieval, I see everybody in the garden, but I don't attach it as much. I see them there. So it's a different way.
Anita has a question for you. I'll tell you what, I don't know how we get any sweeter. I mean, we just had Deneen on here, and we got Christine here, and we got Ksenia coming next week, and it was just getting sweeter and sweeter. Speaking of sweet, Anita, go ahead. Do you need to get unmuted, Anita? Let's see what's going on with it. I got
Okay,
you.
I am. Sorry about that.
You're on with her now.
Hi, Anita.
Okay, hi, Christine.
Hi.
So I asked a question to other shamans, to other mediums, and just to the universe. And I'm still looking for the answer. So how is pain, either emotional or physical or psychological, how is pain translated into energy? And how are we failing to recognize that energy Are we ignoring that energy is there? I mean, we see it in the physical sense, obviously. We see it in the hospitals, we see it in our homes, and we see it in the world. But what happens to that energy?
It forms an imprint, you know, and if you keep hearing back in yoga tradition, samskara, there's like it's an imprint, and that's what we do in your luminous energy field. So that blueprint surrounding your body, you know, the pain, whether it's your pain, someone else's pain, your mother's pain, your great grandmother's pain, you know, there's a pattern of trauma. It forms an imprint, and that's what we remove. That's what we remove as shamans. So, because when everything happens first in the energetic body, right? And if we remove it, the level of ego, like I talked about, it doesn't have to be, you know, whatever, if it was a deep pain, like a heartbreak, you know, deep into the heart, if we can remove that in the energetic field before it reaches like serpent level material, when you're in the ER and you're having a heart attack, that's what we want to do. You know, is that always up? Oh,
so I get that. And I think that personally, I think that I get it. And I know that I have the power to remove it and change the course for future generations, etc. However, let's take that to the community. What about Ukraine? What about that sort of trauma and pain?
That's
Where's that
a
imprint?
collective thing.
Right.
That and golly, that's almost like a question. I would go refer that to my mentor, because I feel like that's why there's so many light workers right now. Like there is, like my calling, you know, is the greater community. I feel like it is cancer. I feel like I'm being called community and then worldwide that way. But there are other workers, there's other shaman and really all of us with our prayers, all of us are healers. You know, and I did, when that was all going on, I mean, I did, even though, hey, you work on people without permission, I don't ever do that, but like collectively, like global meditations, you have that opportunity. You just have that. I feel like we all have that opportunity, not like you individually, but just removing, like we're pulling out pain, removing pain. Even before I was trained shamanically, I felt called to remove things out of people's bodies, just like pull it out. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, if that's something that you feel called to do, if you're feeling called to help with your Ukraine, like participating in global meditation, but also I did one recently and I just felt the need just to pull the energy. And again, almost like what we discussed with Rick, like pulling it and putting it somewhere or releasing it to, you know, the upper world, heaven. I don't know.
Sense. I like that. Yeah. I like how you describe that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Ask for permission, you know, because that's all I can say. But
okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else with any questions? Come on, Linda, you're never questionless.
Oh, yes, I have a question. And it's sort of a general question. You know, I've been fortunate enough to know Rick and to study astrology with him. And that's been a life-changing experience. Mm-hmm. But one thing I know about myself is that if I have a little bit of a extra gift, it's what I guess what's called clairaudience, because sometimes I hear things mm-hmm. that aren't like nobody else can hear them, and like I'm not psychotic, but I do hear voices sometimes. But it's almost always just in a moment when I absolutely need information.
Wonderful.
You know, it'll be like yesterday. I the voice came and I looked up and there was a deer like practically falling off a hill in front of me.
Oh my God.
And I mean, it was like, it was twisted. I mean, the thing, it slipped, you know, and I saw, I mean, it all happened. It like everything slowed down and I knew it was there and I stopped and he got himself back in order and he got back up the hill and his buddy went back up the hill and we were all fine. but we might not have been fine if I hadn't heard there's a deer. I mean, it was just as clear as anything, there's a deer. So I guess my question is, you've studied, being a shaman, you've studied in some of these other areas. Where do you, I mean, I got lucky when I found Rick. Where do you find someone to help you grow that kind of ability? I mean,
I will say, or just starting with me, I do have a program where I call it Journey Through the Clairs, that I help people, develop clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, because sometimes things just come in like that. You just know something.
oh, well, that happens all the time. So
Yeah, and I do it with.
I don't even think about that. That's just,
yeah, because
that's just being me. That's like,
yeah, that's beautiful. But it's fun. It's really like a fun. I do it usually one-on-one. It's a lot of fun just to help people just delve a little bit deeper. And of course, beyond that, there's Lily Dale. There's all sorts of, if you
Omega.
there is. I take an approach. I guess it's more, I do a journey for you first, and then it's just a lot of fun. I use oracle cards, and then I also, because I've been trained in hypnotherapy, I do a little semi like light trance for you to sort of.
Oh my God, I'm like really good at, I'm very good at trance. I had a college professor who used hypnosis with me all the time. So I never had to study for his class.
Awesome.
I would just sit in class, take the notes, come in and take the test and get 100%. Every single time. It was amazing because hypnosis really worked.
He put you in a trance.
I wish I knew that back then. I didn't have that knowledge back then. That's awesome. When I was
okay. I did follow you on Instagram, so I'll be able to get a hold of you. So.
Awesome.
Also, remember, a lot of people.
Thank you.
A lot of people really, it's so Western to take on all the pain yourself. This is my finding, and we forget to ask. And I get a lot of people in the middle of poignant, significant readings where they're finding themselves, and they just needed that one friend to give them a little push, that one person to just believe in them a little bit, that one little nudge, and they just light up and they take off like with a booster pack on. And the thing I want to say is, if we can take a moment to get quiet and think, we're in a state of a very heavy duty changes in a country where people have not been paying attention. And we're in a country where we're being very much affected, if I must say, by the lowest common denominator of thinking. And we cannot allow it to affect us. And we have to be grateful. Look at the power that keeps us running for 6 years. And we just keep running, people keep coming, and wonderful people, and they bring their light, and they bring their source, and they bring their commonality, and this person picks up on that, and this person picks up on that, and then we have people like Christine drop by, and then we're going to have Ksenia next week, and on and on. And I think we need to take a few minutes to really think about how you'll need to give her food. We need to take a thought about staying on the course ourselves. We know what we need to be doing. We know what people we need to stay away from. We know what people we need to stay clear to. One of the biggest things is we're afraid to do things because we don't think we're permitted to do it. And one of the big things I do, I don't know where it came from, I give people permission all the time to go do this and do that. And they go, okay, and they go do it. I don't have any power. I don't have any frankincense. You know? But anyhow, it's a wonderful group. It's great that we meet here every week. Thanks tonight to the wonderful YouTubers who stay stubbornly involved with us. And next week, we're going to have Ksenia Moore with us, the astrologer from Australia. She's quite amazing. She really does all kinds of astrology, and she knows an awful lot. But tonight I want to really thank Christine for coming forward, because I really liked Christine's simplicity. It's why it was hard to write the astrology book. It was why it was hard to write the chapter on Pisces, because Pisces is the sign that's just taken for granted. People just don't give them a lot of credit. A lot of Pisces don't stand up to get the credit. They can't understand how to do it. Unfortunately, Christine has Aquarius and Aries energy in her chart that helps her, but she's still been through a rough time, and she's shown you how she has done it. She has turned skyward. I don't know the words. She's turned skyward for help, and she got it. She turned skyward for help, and she got it. And an awful lot of people around us are not turning skyward. And I have a lot of readings, and I ask people, how much do you give to God? How much do you offer up to? Say, I can't deal with this. Could you take it from me? And it's just unbelievable how most people don't do it. And all this is a reminder. It's just a reminder. Certainly want to welcome you back again in the future, Christine. And I'll come see you if I find any more inquisitors bugging me.
Oh, I sure hope you're done with all that. You're good.
Well,
It's over.
I'm coming for some hypnosis soon and from some soul retrieval. So we'll see what happens. So everybody keep on what you're doing. Keep on keeping on. I'll see you next week, Doctor.
Thank you,
See you
Kathy.
next week. Hope everybody feels
Thanks,
good.
Christine.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you so
me.
much,
Thank you.
Christine.
Loved it. I was
Thank
looking-
you, Rick, for having Christine.
I know. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Christine.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Leanne.
All
Bye,
we
everybody.
need is
Bye.
love.